I've made a lot of videos on companies doing something stupid, doing something scummy, or screwing me over personally. What with the Blank Screwed Me series, the A True Service series, I talk about them often in console peasant quotes. I'll never get tired of crapping all over these companies that crapped all over me first, or at the very least tried to. But every so often I have what I like to call a good day, and as rare as these are, they restore my faith in these large companies and show me that not everyone will try to stomp on you every chance they get. So a little while ago, I bought myself NZXT's Century 3 fan controller. The idea was simply to be able to control all my fans as well as get a fan controller that aesthetically would bring something to my build that gave it a little more personality. Every time someone comes over who knows anything about computers, they typically say, "Whoa, nice fan controller, where'd you get that?" And then those who come over who know nothing about PCs typically say, "Whoa, the front of your PC looks really cool, I want one of those." It's a win-win, but more than that, it does its job very well. The fan controller holds up to 5 different fans unless of course you're using a few Y-splitters, in which case it can house up to 10. I can control them all individually or even link a few of them so they always spin at the same speeds. I can place a thermometer on the top of the CPU so it manages and reads temperatures in real time, and with that info it can automatically adjust the speed of the fans depending on the temperature of my processor. Either that or I could just adjust them all manually. It performs all these tasks very well and it looks really good while doing it. But I ran into a few issues. See, a few months ago I replaced my motherboard and CPU, and in doing so, I broke the thermometer cable that came with my Century 3. Now this bummed me out as the fan controller came with 3 of those, and I kinda broke the other 2 when I first got the thing trying to set them up. Now these things aren't fragile or anything, I just kinda had a bit of an accident, and as a result, I lost 2 really good thermometers who probably had families that didn't deserve to die. Now you may be thinking, okay Barry, you don't have a thermometer, what's the big deal? Well, here's how this fan controller works. If I don't have a way to measure heat, the fan controller assumes that my CPU is running at max temps, so to compensate, it runs the fans at full blast. There's no way to turn them down when they're like this, even on manual mode as a safety precaution. Now, this may not seem like a bad idea, but have you ever heard computer fans running at top speed? And not only that, but I have Noctua's 3000 RPM fans which sound like a jet engine in my microphone when I'm trying to record a video. Luckily for me, my front panel Corsair fans are slow and quiet at top speed, which is about 1200 RPMs, so what I did was left those plugged into the fan controller going full blast and plugged everything else into my motherboard. I then went to NZXT's website hoping maybe somewhere they sold extra thermometer cables. After searching the website for upwards of an hour, I came up empty, so I contacted their customer service. Now this was only a few months after I made the purchase of the Century, so I was pretty sure I could get some help. The woman on the other end of the phone was very nice and told me that I should receive a cable in the next few days. A few days go by, and there we are. I plug it into the controller as well as all the fans and I'm good to go. Now Barry, you're probably saying, is that really it? NZXT didn't go above and beyond there, and that's exactly what I thought too. Sure, they were nice, but other than shipping me a new cable for free, there was nothing that stood out about that. It wasn't until about a week ago. I'd been using my PC with AMD's dedicated air cooler that came with my Ryzen 1700 CPU. I knew it was about time to get a new liquid cooler again as my old liquid cooler exploded. Yeah. A little bit ago, I made a video called A Day of Stress My Computer, and in that video, I essentially talked about how I was having a bad day, and then my 1500 watt power supply exploded. Well, what I didn't mention in that video was a few days after I started realizing my brand new processor was getting a little warm. Turns out the power supply wanted to take something down with it. Regardless, I needed a new liquid cooler, so I went with the Deepcool Gamer Storm Captain. The reviews are pretty good, and just like everything else in my case, it worked with Asus Aura, so, you know. Anyway, I installed my liquid cooler, and guess what I broke? That stupid little thermometer cable. Now, I'm not exactly sure how I broke it, but my fans were all at 100% and I couldn't figure out why until I looked at the front of my case and realized the temperatures were unable to be processed. I take the PC apart again, unplug all the fans again, and plug them back into my motherboard. Again. Now, I bought this fan controller back in 2016, so I was no longer under any sort of warranty if any existed at all. But it worked for me once, so I figured I'd try it again. I sent an email to NZXT explaining to them that I broke my last thermo cable and had hoped maybe I could buy a new one from them. I was very specific about the cable and very sincere about paying for it. The guy emails back, "Hey Barry, could I get your receipt just to ensure you bought the product? We'd also like some of your information," which I happily gave them. I then went to Newegg and took a screenshot of my purchase. He replies back to me within the hour. "Good news, Barry. Your replacement part request has been shipped and is on the way." And then a little survey asking how the customer service rep did, which I ignored cause duh. Now, I thought this was kinda cool. I offered to purchase the cable, but the guy never even mentioned it, so I chalked it down to these things being so cheap that it's literally not worth the time and moved on. A few days go by and funnily enough, I forgot all about the cable. I get in the zone sometimes about my job, writing scripts and taking notes in my head. About 5 days go by and there's this mystery box at my door. Now again, I had no idea what it could be, so I rush it upstairs and tear it open, and this is what's inside. A brand new Century 3, not a cable, an entirely new unit. I couldn't believe it. Not only was I extremely out of warranty, broke all of my spare cables through user error plus the one that they later sent me, and still have a working unit in my PC. And these things are around $30, which isn't a lot of money, sure, but for such a luxury as a fan controller, you're asking for a pretty decent price. The thing that really shocked me was I offered a few times to pay for shipping, or for the new cable, and not only did they ignore me, but went ahead and sent a brand new one my way. It was just really cool of them to do, and you better believe I went back and filled out that customer service survey properly. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Companies that treat me like this deserve my money, and I'll never ask them to send me another unit ever again. Even if it comes down to I broke all of my cables again, I just buy a new Century 3 from them. They deserve it after what they did, and it leaves me wondering what else NZXT sells that I may be interested in. This is the kind of customer service that only makes me want to support them, and it's just so nice that I'm still able to find a company like that these days. I know it's rare, but every so often you'll meet a company that is sincere, just looking to make a good product for your money, and isn't doing anything shady about it. Goes above and beyond, and though this was just my experience, it just makes me like NZXT a lot more than I used to. Because of this little thing, they have me talking very nicely about them, thinking of them more as I ponder future upgrades, and I did this for Rockhat as well. This right here is a series that I wish happened more often, but I guess because there are so many crappy companies out there, it kinda adds to the novelty of this situation. Now don't get me wrong, NZXT can't be a perfect company, and if I caught them doing something wrong, I wouldn't hide that. I've heard some people have had issues with NZXT in the past, and if that's the case, then so be it. But I like to hope that they are truly genuine and don't just do this kind of thing every other century. And that, my friends, was a good day.